Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. We're here today to talk about the historic 49ers performance and just what it means to with the playoff standings, what it means to each individual team, break down the game, and then also break down Brock Purdy's MVP odds. We'll do that and much more all after this. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. So, 49ers versus Eagles wrapped up yesterday. You guys all heard it, you guys all saw it, but it was America's game of the week, even though it wasn't on Sunday Night Football. It was the game that we were all looking forward to see. Everyone across the league collectively, not only because of the playoff implications, but because these are arguably the two best teams in the NFL. And the playoff implications. I mean, the Eagles 10-1 coming into this game, 49ers 8-3 coming into this game. And so this game, I mean, the Eagles now are still first place in the NFC, but this game really was key because tie-breaking implications. If the 49ers would have lost this game, the Eagles would have had the tiebreaker over them if they eventually during the season are tied going into the playoffs. So this game was really just key for playoff implications. And now the 49ers don't have to necessarily win out. Now they really have to win out if they want a better chance of getting the NFC number one in the seed in the NFC. But this win by the Niners made it a lot easier because now they just have to hope that the Eagles lose one game, hopefully next week against Dallas, and we just need to win out, which is a hard task, but I am confident that our team can do it. So let's get into a little bit of the game. And what I'm going to say, first drive was stagnant. It didn't, I didn't see for the 49ers offense first drive. We'll break down the offense first. So let's get to the offense first here. So the offense to me was stagnant the first two drives. As you guys know, the Eagles got up 6-0. To me, I didn't see a lot of, the 49ers during this game were doing a lot of pre-snap motion, getting the Eagles defense to think before the snap and kind of motioning the Eagles defense one way before the snap by motioning another guy across the playing field. First two drives, I didn't see a lot of pre-snap motion. It was very bland. It was a lot of shotgun, but it was kind of predictable of what the 49ers were going to do. Those were the first two drives. It took them a while to get going in this game. Then they changed. I mean, Kittle, they were getting Kittle the ball. They were changing to more of a bunch formation. They were getting Kittle in a 3-point stance blocking after those first drives. This is what really made the offense go, what made the offense have some firepower to it, and that's why they scored 42 points. But George Kittle was blocking more. They were in a more bunch formation. They had Brock Purdy in the shotgun, more bunch formation. George Kittle blocking for Brock Purdy, and a lot more of just we didn't see as many play actions in this game. It wasn't a spread offense per se, but Brock Purdy was in the shotgun, and there was a lot of fake handoffs. So that's kind of what changed from the first two drives, which was so stagnant, to the next few drives, which wasn't so good. The next drives in the game, which were better compared to the first two, which were not as good. But third quarter, 12:25 left to go. This is an example. 12 minutes, 25 seconds left to go in the third quarter. It's a 3rd and 2. And it was a big play over where basically Brock Purdy chucks it to McCaffrey down the sideline. McCaffrey catches it. He was one-on-one versus a linebacker. Is a huge play to McCaffrey, huge throw to McCaffrey. And the 49ers, my point with this is this huge play just showed the 49ers were exposing the Eagles defense the whole entire game and how they could play. The Eagles physically in this game could not play man-to-man, especially their linebackers. The 49ers were exposing how bad the Eagles linebackers are and how just exposing the way that the Eagles were playing defense in this game. And they basically, my biggest fear was Jalen Carter. You know, my biggest fear was he was going to destroy this whole entire game. But what the 49ers did in this game was they said, Jalen Carter isn't going to be a factor. We're basically going to do so many motions and jet sweeps, and just we're not even going to allow Jalen Carter to rush the quarterback because we're just going to motion it away with him with Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey. The third TD, Deebo Samuel in motion, it was a jet sweep. They motioned Brandon Ayuk to the left side, and then they snapped the ball and gave it to Deebo Samuel running right. And so that was the third TD that it was the second TD that Deebo scored all day. But they basically were doing a lot of motion. They were doing a lot of pre-snap motion, making the defense think, and motioning one guy one way and then another guy the other way. And that's kind of how this game that's how the 49ers had their bread and butter, was pre-snap motion and giving it to Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in space and letting them work. That's how they won this game, which I knew that this was how they were going to be able to win, because if you can make the Eagles linebackers vulnerable, make them make plays, make the Eagles linebackers think and make plays, that's how you beat the Eagles, because the Eagles linebackers and cornerbacks at the end of the day are undisciplined and they were not tackling in this game. And so the 49ers knew that and they said, we're going to give you two very explosive guys in McCaffrey. We're going to throw two very explosive guys in Deebo and McCaffrey, and you're going to have to tackle them. And it was a hard thing to do. But I mean, moving on, they also, not only did they take Jalen Carter out of this game, but they took Hassan Reddick out of this game. It's the same thing, pre-snap motion, and not just like they were so good a few weeks ago against Micah Parsons. They did a very similar game plan to Hassan Reddick than they do to Micah Parsons, and that's basically not allowing Micah Parsons to even have a chance of getting to the quarterback, and that means quick slants, quick throws, and motion, pre-snap motion, jet sweeps. And as well, if you're going to throw it deep, then you're going to get Brock Purdy out in space, or, get him out in space against like the opposite way of where Hassan Reddick is lined up. So basically just not doing that play action stuff like the 49ers did last year. And that's what made Brock Purdy get injured. That's how they got their bread and butter in this game. Let's see here. But yeah, let's move on to the defense. We've kind of spent enough on the offense. The defense coverage was amazing. Even when Jalen Hurts had time to throw the ball, I mean, the pressure on the defensive line for the 49ers was really good. But even when Jalen Hurts had time to throw the ball, it always seemed like he had nowhere to go with it. And that, I think, is probably 60% of the play calling for the Eagles. I'll get into that in a little bit. And about 40% of how good the 49ers cornerbacks were in this game. Charvarius Ward, very good. Now, there were times when he did give up some catches, but in the important moments, Charvarius Ward was very good. He broke up the first touched red zone drive that the Eagles had in this game, which ended up in a field goal. He broke up a really key, I believe it was 3rd and 8 play to going to AJ Brown, and Charvarius Ward knocked it away. So this defense, especially for the 49ers, the first two drives was a bend, not break defense, which they allowed the Eagles in the red zone, but the biggest key in this game, and this is why the 49ers won this game, was because they didn't allow the Eagles to score 2 touchdowns in that first 2 on those first 2 drives. They allowed them to 2 field goals, which was so key because that really changed the course of the game. The 49ers really the way they also played this game defensively and scheme wise was the 49ers just rushed for and kept 2 safeties back. And they allowed the 49ers they allowed their pass rush to get home on Jalen Hurts, as well as dropping so many guys back in coverage and playing man-to-man coverage that Jalen Hurts couldn't throw it short, but he also couldn't throw it deep because we had 2 safeties deep and we weren't giving up any plays, as well as our linebackers were absolutely phenomenal in this game, really just making sure that the Eagles were not going to making it tough on the Eagles offense all day. I do want to talk about though Ambry Thomas holding. I do believe that Ambry Thomas, there were a few times where he got away with a few holds, but the biggest thing where I saw from him is he would be holding the guy, and then as soon as the ball would, like right before the ball would actually get to the receiver, he'd kind of look back at it and then knock it away. And it kind of made it seem like because in the NFL, you're allowed to kind of hold as long as you're looking back at the football. It kind of it when he was looking back at the football right before it came to the receiver, it made it look like he wasn't really committing a penalty because he was looking back at the ball. He was holding a lot of the day, but he made it to where it was hard to call because he was looking back at the ball. It was hard to call a flag because he was looking back at the ball. But the Eagles offense, we have to talk about the lack of creativity. I mean, again, my brothers are Eagles fans, and they said, the refs were bad. The 49ers were holding the Eagles all day. The Eagles offensive coordinator either just needs to shape up or needs to be fired, because even in the last few games, I said, even against the Bills last game, I said, there's very little creativity to what they do on offense. Their offense is so predictable. You know when the Eagles are running or throwing the ball. When they're running it, it's usually very spread, and Jalen Hurts is in the shotgun. When they're throwing it, that's when they're throwing it. When they're running it, Jalen Hurts is under center. It's really easy. There's also no pre-snap motion in their offense. No creativity before the snap starts in their offense. And the greatest thing about pre-snap motion is because you can confuse the defense before before the ball is even snapped. So there was not a lot of creativity in the Eagles offense in this game, and it it was just very predictable, I feel like, to know what the Eagles were going to do. And it's been a problem for them all year. And this is why I don't know if the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders, because they have an underlying issue that top defenses will expose, like the 49ers. And that is they just aren't very creative offensively. They they rely a lot on Jalen Hurts to make plays with his feet. And against good defenses, that just doesn't hold up. Although there's really only one or two defenses that can really expose what that is, and that's the 49ers defense and the Cowboys defense, I believe. So Eagles offense, not great in this game. But let's talk. And also, I mean, you have to, I guess I already talked about the Eagles undisciplined in tackling on the defensive side of the ball, but that was a huge thing. I mean, there were so many times in this game where Debo or Christian McCaffrey or even Brock Purdy would just slip off of the Eagles defender. I don't know how many missed tackles there were, but there were a lot. Brock Purdy. So let's talk about Brock Purdy for MVP. This was something that I woke up to, and I saw that Brock Purdy is now number 1 in the MVP odds. And absolutely, he should. He's conducting the offense at a high level. He's making plays with his legs on the run, something that no 49ers quarterback has done in quite a while. I mean, you have to go all the way back to Jeff Garcia, because Jimmy Garoppolo never did that. Jimmy Garoppolo was not a mobile quarterback. Brock Purdy, I mean, when he gets under pressure, scrambles out and he makes something out of nothing with his feet. So I know that, he had 314 yards. He had, I believe it was 4 TDs in this game. And it was a lot of Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel doing his job for him. He was 19 for 27. But that's just how the 49ers offensive system works. And he is conducting it at the highest level. And so I think he deserves an MVP for that because he is conducting the offense that he is asked to run at the highest level. And so the 49ers offense and system is very good, but he's elevating it. Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like threw a lot of interceptions, made a lot of mistakes, and it kind of made the offense all right. Brock Purdy is really starting now more than ever to elevate the offense. And that is what you want from an MVP. An MVP is a person who elevates the offense to another level. And that's really what Brock Purdy is doing. So, absolutely, Brock Purdy should be the MVP right now as of today. Maybe it will change, but what I've seen, he should be the MVP 100%. Guys, go and have a good rest of your I guess this video will probably be coming in the middle of the night for a lot of people in the US. So when you wake up in the morning and see this, have a good morning, everyone. Have a good day. And I'll see you guys probably on Saturday when I do a live show. Or, yeah, Saturday when I do a live show. Saturday, your guys' time in the US. So see you then.